William Bouguereau moved in the midst of all the hubbub, unruffled by malice, untainted by envy, like a calm prophet who had a vision, writes John Wycliffe Forster. So just how did a young lad from the port town of La Rochelle, France, from a small merchant family, rise to such lofty heights in the swirling arena of the arts, and become the president of the Artists, Painters, Architects, and Draftsmen's Association of Paris, and the darling of the great French salon at the height of its glory? Let's find out from the beginning. The laborious life of young William was illuminated by the hours given to his beloved art. Each morning from 6 to 8 o'clock he spent in the art school, though only part-time, from which he hurried back to devote the rest of the day to the accounts in the ledger. In the evening, the moment he left the family table, he shut himself in his room, and late into the night, by the light of candle ends saved from shop or house, he would draw and draw anything he saw or could remember. To get the necessary crayons, colours, and materials, he painted the coloured designs to be reproduced on the covers of prune or raisin boxes. Nothing was too insignificant or common, so long as it brought the future nearer when he dreamed of being a prince of painters. Soon, too, the future began to open out most alluringly. After 2 years at the École des Beaux-Arts, he won the first prize for painting the figure. This in spite of the fact that his competitors were all-day students, while he was only in the studio for 2 hours each morning. The success so intoxicated him that he straightway informed his father that the career of a merchant of oil gave no chance for life, and begged permission to take up that of a painter. His father, finally somewhat reluctantly, yielded, saying, "Do as you will, my boy, but at your own risk. You know I cannot help you." But if his father could not help him, his mother could, and did. She was vastly proud of the artistic talent of her son, and many were the francs her beautiful embroideries earned toward the education of the young student. The good curé of Montagne-sur-Gironde also did his best to aid his nephew. He went about the country and procured many orders for portraits at 15 francs per head. At last, in Paris, he arrived there in March, 1846, and at once entered the studio of Picot, that old master whose works and whose instruction carried the imprint of the most elevated traditions. This new life devoted entirely to art gave to the one just embarked upon it the most intense joy which he had known, and filled him with overflowing enthusiasm. He spent not more than 20 sous a day, or about $6 per day, eating hardly anything but bread and cheese, and often going without any dinner. What did it matter to him? He had voluntarily taken to heart the adage, "Who paints, dines," and the only necessities of life for him were to paint, to draw, to study anatomy, natural history, and perspective. Ah, how he took revenge on the gloomy hours in the wine-scented shipping office! He worked even harder, if that were possible, after he entered the École des Beaux-Arts of Paris that same year, 1846. Picot was also the teacher of Cabanel, Henner, and Gustave Moreau. Then 4 years later, Bouguereau shared with Baudry the honours of the Grand Prix de Rome. He worked methodically towards the expected production of the meritorious work required of Prix de Rome laureates, and in 1854 he painted his first important work, the body of St. Cecilia borne to the catacombs, a true tour de force of picture-making from the young artist. From this time on his position was assured. Bouguereau and Baudry would go on to be the darlings of French painting, championing the classic academic style that artists from around the world would go to Paris to learn. It was said at the time, "If Baudry is the Titian of the École de Rome, Bouguereau is the Raphael. As the former has found his ideal in colour, so the latter has discovered his in form." It was hoped that once a painter left Italy and won praise for his work, they would mature and grow to the expectations of the École system and the public showings at the annual salons, and Bouguereau would not fail on that tall order. When he was in Paris in his home on the Rue Notre-Dame-des-Champs, or at La Rochelle in the old mansion of the 18th century which he occupied, All his time was spent in his studio, in the absorbing joy of creation. He was able to say, as Poussin said, that painting to him was delectation. "When the labour of the day ceases for lack of day," he declared to a friend, "I long for the arrival of tomorrow." Is there a more beautiful word for a painter? During his months at La Rochelle, he left his brush only for his 2 daily walks on the seashore, the one in the morning, the other at the hour when the sun sinks behind the islands. For him, a picture is but a theme of lines and colours. So true is this that he is often embarrassed to find titles for his canvases. One day he surprised an adorable pose in a model just leaning over to rest from her allotted hour before the class. "Stay as you are," he cried. And from that came the graceful study of a young girl, which he called Repose. She could have been equally well named Arethusa or Calypso. Bouguereau was the ever-searching seeker for new possibilities in picture-making. He was relentless in finding new poses or themes. The single figure is the bread and butter of the painter's repertoire, rewarding to execute, practical in appeal, and endlessly relevant to the collector and the writer alike. People connect with people. A figure in a painting, rendered with conviction, invites identification across time and circumstance. In Bouguereau, we find a profound ability to command attention. His superb handling of paint, his perfection of the arabesque, his consummate feeling for pathos, and his refined modelling of form together create an authority that is difficult to resist. The single figure gave him an endless field for design, narrative, and emotional expression, and he seized every opportunity within it. Bouguereau's relentless pursuit of perfection brought him great wealth, but more importantly, it sustained the artistic mission he faithfully upheld throughout decades of dedicated work. To further explore this remarkable artist, we have developed a comprehensive e-book examining his working methods, studio practice, technical approach, and daily routine. It also includes the advice he offered aspiring painters, along with more than 360 fully illustrated pages featuring the paintings, drawings, and sketches that formed the foundation of his lifelong practice. Whether in your studio or on the road, this e-book will be ready, at hand, so just follow the link below, and thank you.